Hello, and welcome to another edition of Alan Drinks Whiskey and Talks About Books. And I'm really actually thinking that I might have to invest in a light of some sort because we're now in fall, shadows are getting long. It doesn't look right if I got the overhead light on in here, so I need to bring a lamp or one of those facial things. But hey, I'm talking about a spooky book today, so maybe the ambiance is right there with it. I am talking about In Delirium Circle by Stephen J. Clark, a book that you can kind of tell just by the cover is sort of creepy. The illustrations in it are, well, unnerving. And I am drinking a scotch today, a Tomatin scotch. I'm not usually a scotch fan, but this is like the one variety of scotch that I like. This one was aged 15 years, if that matters to you. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this book because this book is really, really interesting. So, but the first thing I want to talk about is how I found the book because I think that kind of actually ties in a little bit into the book as a whole. So I first heard about In Delirium Circle through a House of Leaves book club, and if you've never read House of Leaves, you should. It's so fun. It's a good book, and it's been on my to reread list for a number of years now. But just House of Leaves was a book that kind of just sucked me in, and I just really liked it from the get-go, and I kind of obsessed over it a little bit. I know that's very weird to think that I obsessed over a book, but uh, I really like it. It's one of my favorite books. Um, Mark Z. Danielewski is one of my favorite authors. Um, can't wait to see what he does next. So I'm in a House of Leaves book club over the summer. In Delirium Circle is mentioned, and spookiness was promised, and the synopsis sold me. Where it's this guy who's trying to find hidden worlds, secret societies, uh, just kind of creepiness, and I was really excited about it. And so I said, all right, I'm in. But my usual go to failed me. It was not on Amazon, it was not available there. And I finally found it through Zagava, which is a German publishing company, which, based off of kind of their website, poking around it a little bit today, seems to focus heavily on sort of creepy fictions, horror stuff, which is a pretty cool genre, but it's German. And so, quite possibly, I spent more on shipping than the actual book. And there were lengthy delays because of the times that we live in. And I finally got the book like 2 months after I ordered it. It took a long time, but it built up this anticipation. And then I didn't read it right away because I like to read a book in October that is spooky, and I knew this was going to be this year's spooky book. So, anyway, but when I read it, I kind of was thinking about what it took for me to get the book, and I got the sense that my difficulty in tracking it down somehow mirrored the story. Because in the story, our main character, William Fletch, finds a letter in a used bookstore. And it's just this random letter that's tucked inside the pages of a random book. But he just gets this feeling that this letter is meant for him. He knows it's meant for him. He knows that it's going to have this grand adventure for him. The things that he's always been wanting to know are here. And so, based off of this, he uproots his life. He goes in search of Delirium Circle, not quite knowing what it is, only knowing that he wants to find out. And honestly, that's what buying a book is, isn't it? Like, you might read the synopsis of something and go, okay, sure, I'll buy it. Now, I didn't have to uproot my life, but for some reason, this book spoke to me. I was like, I need to read it. And I went to greater lengths than I originally thought that I would to buy the book. Sometimes this happens to me in bookstores. Like, I'll just be passing by and this book will kind of like call to me, or I'll pick it up and I'll put it back and I keep coming back to it. I'm interested in it. One of these books, and I haven't read it yet, but I remember the distinct feeling of going to a bookstore and they had a copy of the Malahabra, which is an Indian epic. And I just could not put it down. I needed to have it. And I've started it a couple of times. I need to just sit down and read it. I mean, you don't really just sit down and read an 800-page book, but that's the plan. Um, but I just felt like there's this connection between how our character in the book comes across the Delirium Circle and how I came across it, and just secondhand information, not quite knowing what it is, but you're gonna take a risk. Him is his whole life, me maybe a little bit financially to get this book. Not that this book cost hundreds of dollars or anything like that. It was like 50 all told. But still, there's a risk anytime that you buy a book. You are saying, I will take a chance that this media is worth my money and my time. And so there you have it. And there I had it. The delay increased anticipation as I like honestly after a while I kind of forgot I had ordered it. And then I was like, wait a minute. Shouldn't I have gotten like a shipping notification or something like that by now? But finally I get it. Likewise, in the book, when Fletch arrives in Newcastle, which I love that it was in Newcastle because I've never been to England, let alone Newcastle, but I'm a fan of Newcastle United because I hate myself a little bit. And so it was really cool, like all these places that I kind of like know because I've, like visually scoped out the city were in this book. But anyway, Fletch arrives in Newcastle, but he doesn't actually get to be in the circle for some time. And in the meantime, you're giving these kind of cryptic hints and you don't really know. And it's kind of like getting the, like, your item is ready for shipping. Your item is shipped. Your item is in Topeka, Kansas. Like, when is it just going to get here? And a little bit of that happens in this book. You're just like, when are they going to get together and be like, this is what Delirium Circle is all about? And but here's the thing, maybe he does. Maybe he's in the circle like right away because he's not sure exactly what happens while he's waiting. He's put in this house, right? He's just kind of waiting and then he finds these photographs and he's going through them and stuff like that. And he thinks he's kind of being tested to see if he's worthy. He like they're kind of like, do we want this guy in there? Let's see if he passes the test. He thinks at one point that maybe he's actually already part of the circle and he's being introduced to their games that they play. Games being kind of I think, a term for lack of a better one, because they're like kind of like these festivals and rites, but there's some serious significance to them. And then at one point, he even speculates that the circle is purposely driving him mad so that his mind will be susceptible to their knowledge. Some Lovecraftian, thing like, whoa, this knowledge is not meant for human consumption, so we've got to kind of like break you a little bit. And he kind of thinks that's what's going on. So, okay, so I didn't exactly go through all that. I was waiting for the book, but still kind of fun to think about. So you might be wondering, what is Delirium Circle other than kind of a creepy book? But like, what is it in the book? And it's a secret society that's made up of individuals who fought during World War II. At least this set of Delirium Circle is. Quite possibly that's not like it's a requisite for membership is to have fought in World War II, but that's who all the members more or less are. And near the end of the war, they come across some ruins in Eastern Europe, and in them they find something. There's creatures, maybe people, they're in masks, there's fog, there's revelry, and after they come out, they are changed. Like, not just like, wow, what an experience, but like how they perceive the world is different. They are more in tune to things, they're aware of things. They're aware that there's kind of a layer beneath our reality that they want to sort of push through. I kind of felt at times that it was hard for them to actually articulate what exactly had happened because it's beyond verbal human expression. There's a lot of artwork in the book that kind of gets at it. There's imagery with masks and concealing of faces and stuff like that. There's people, like figures coming out of fog. And it's just kind of eerie, but I don't think they can ever fully articulate exactly what it is that they experience and what they go through. And I think to some degree, like, this isn't like an uncommon feeling. You don't have to like go through like weird ruins in Eastern Europe to experience it. Like, if you've ever got the feeling that something important has happened in a spot or that something is about to happen, like there's just like this charge in the air, or you feel the significance. Sometimes, like at historical sites, I can feel that significance. There's just something about it that's there. That's kind of what the circle is obsessed with, is just like, why is there this feeling? What's going on underneath how we perceive reality, and how can we bring it to the attention everything's. So there's like this hidden world, a dream world, and they want to bring that more fully into ours for whatever reason. And I think they want to do this because that's full reality. That's everything. What we have is just part of the story, and they want it all. They want everyone to experience it. But kind of at what cost? So there's kind of this rival faction circle called the House of Sleep that is somehow connected to Delirium Circle. And again, this is something where you kind of have to read between the lines. And full disclosure, I was reading this while parenting two children around Halloween. So I might have missed some stuff, but I think this is just my interpretation of the book. The House of Sleep is got similar goals, or they go against Delirium Circle, but they're kind of more or less the antagonists of the story. And at one point, our main character Fletch is kind of ruminating on waiting for them and what has happened to him since he has joined the circle and he's gone through these games. And he writes, simple things began to echo portents. Ordinary things loomed and conspired. The commonplace structure of things, the snug room in which I was sitting, the long bar, the mahogany panels, and the heraldic stained glass windows all seemed like theatrical facades and props. The empty pint glasses left by other drinkers glinted in the amber light. Phantoms, echoes, absences, doubles, patterns always on the edge of emerging, only to subside again as I reach to grasp them. Do not look for the solution to this riddle. There is no answer, no path, or way that you can understand. I knew one day they would take me with them. I would be initiated, ushered into a secret pact by those custodians of sleep, ushered with the final air of an execution. Just I love the language in this book too. Like the writing is really good, and that's like one of my favorite parts of it right there. But it talks about some of those things that that nature of reality, patterns always on the edge of emergent, only to subside again, and you can't quite grasp it, and you want to, and you hope that your full initiation gives you this access and it gives you this understanding, and maybe in some way I was hoping that by actually reading the book, I'd fully understand, I'd fully comprehend it, but it's only the beginning, and I probably have to dive into it again or discuss it again, things like that. And it was really good. I know it's no longer October, but I read a spooky book every October, and this was probably one of the best ones I've ever read. Um, It has secret societies, initiations, creatures coming out of fog, creepy masks, post World War II, gloomy, bombed out Britain vibes. It's a lot of fun. And then there's this unnerving quality right from the first chapter. There's something mysterious, something supernatural going on, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but it sets you on edge and you got to know what happens next. And what more could you ask for in a spooky story? Highly recommend tracking down in Delirium Circle. It's really good. I actually ordered another one by Stephen J. Clark today, and I'm excited to read that one. Thank you so much for watching another episode, a kind of an in the dark episode of Alan drinks whiskey and talks about books. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Maybe I'll invest in a light for the next time so I'm not so spooky, but hey, ambiance. Cheers to reading. We'll see you the next time.